Well, guys, the day is here, and it kind of saddens me, but I think it's time to call it a day for this basil plant. This basil plant is mid-week 20, 144 days old, so it's a little over 20 weeks old, and I really just need to make room for my ghost pepper. And like I said, yeah, it's just taking up too much space now. It's too big, and it served its purpose. You know, I've harvested leaves, I've harvested seeds, and it's also demonstrated that you can grow a plant, pretty decent sized plant, for, you know, good amount of time. And I'm sure I could go a lot longer than now, but I think I'm going to end it on this. And this is going to be the introduction for the grow log video on this basil, starting from day one all the way to this point, I guess. I think the last actual update that I did was 2 weeks ago for the grow log, so it will end a little earlier than right now. But it, like I said, it's 144 days old, and yep, it's time to go. Got to make room for this guy, this gigantic ghost pepper plant, also grown in the same DWC system. So let me just kind of go over some things that I've learned with these systems growing this basil for 144 days. First off, I mean, there's really not a whole lot to understand about these things. I mean, first, once it starts growing, you know, and it's small, you start out with a weak nutrient. You know, this is just basic hydro stuff. You know, start out with a weak nutrient solution, and as it grows, you increase your nutrient strength. And you know, once it gets to a size, I kind of topped out at 3 teaspoons of Florinova per gallon, and it's probably had that regimen, the 3 teaspoons per gallon, since it was I don't know, 1.5 feet tall maybe. And this thing has actually, in the grow log will show it, but I've actually cut this thing back. Like, just, it kept growing up into the lights, and I'd come down about 10 inches and I'd just cut it all off. And I did that about 5 times before it finally started going to seed, and it kind of, the vertical growth kind of stopped. But you can see they still shoot up into the lights, but these LED lights, I mean, they don't really hurt them when they touch them. So yeah, that's one thing. I mean, that's kind of off the topic, but with these systems, my micro DWC system, the 2 most important things that you need to know about these are, as the plants grow, you're going to have to top off pretty regularly. You're going to have to top off like every other day, every 2 days at most, once the roots get real big. Because I'm going to try to, I'll jump in here and I'll show you. This reservoir has never been cleaned one time, and I say it was a test, but it's really kind of just laziness. But this is the root mass, and it gets this big and then it just kind of stops. So I mean, what I notice is it kind of root binds itself even in the hydroponic system. Oh shit, I guess I'm cutting it down anyway, so it don't matter, but kind of lock the leaves in there. But yeah, so as the roots get, you know, a lot of mass in there, you're gonna have to top off pretty regularly, which, you know, that's the con, or the, you know, the trade-off for having a small reservoir. It takes up very little vertical space, and, you know, you have all the vertical space for your plant, and, you know, you just have this little guy. So you got to stay on top of the water. And like I said, I let it go down. I'll let it go down like almost to the bottom, but I try not to let it go past the air stone. But shit, it can come down like to here, and then you Once it gets big, I don't give it any space. I'll fill it all the way up, halfway up the net pot, just to keep it going for a couple days longer. But that's one thing, the regular topping off. And the other thing is the air stone. This is really the only other thing that you have to pay attention to, because the air stone, when you open it and you're checking your roots or you're adding nutrient solution, you'll notice that, like, hey, my air stone, it's not bubbling real good anymore. Well, what happens is, they're porous, and when you use a nutrient solution, it'll eventually kind of clog up all those little pores, so the air bubbles don't escape from the stone, so it just kind of fizzes in the water. It's just fizzy. So what you can do is you can swap the air stone out for a clean one, or you can take the air stone off, and there's two things you can do, or you can do both. You can let it dry out, which I've noticed that some of the ones that I just let dry out completely and then I put them back on, they worked fine again. It's kind of weird. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's just because the debris falls off. I don't really know. And then the other method you can do is to take the dirty air stone right when you take it out of the system, when it's all clogged, and what you do is you hook it up to another air pump, and you boil some water and then pour the boiling water into like a container, so that way when you run your air hose into the hot water, it won't melt the air line on the pot, because the pot's metal in it. So you pour the hot water into a container and then hook the dirty air stone up to an air pump, and then place it in the water and just let it run, and it'll free itself up in the hot water. So that's really the only other thing, other than topping it off and watching your air stone and cleaning your air stone, or letting your air stone dry out. Those are really the only things you have to pay attention to with this, other than your growing stuff. So your whatever plant you're growing or whatever, you're going to want to figure out your own nutrient, whatever nutrient you want to use, the strengths. And I recommend Florinova. It's an easy, it's almost foolproof. You just follow the instructions on the back of the container for your plant size or plant type, and it works great. I mean, this thing, that's all it's been fed ever. Even when it started putting on flowers and going to seed, it's all just Florinova Grow, and I might, down the line when this ghost pepper gets going and putting on fruit, I might get some Florinova Bloom just to try to, help out the fruits on there, the peppers. But yeah, I mean, that's it for these. They're really simple. And again, this basil's been growing for 144 days now, and I think I'm going to give it the chop now. So the following video will be the grow log from day 1 to almost current to the 144 days. It was like a couple weeks ago that I did the last update. But yeah, so I'm gonna quit rambling on now, and I'm gonna chop this bad boy down. And actually, I might add, I don't know if I'll add it before the grow log starts, or I don't know, I'll put it in there somewhere. But I'm gonna take everything out of the system and clean it up and show you how it looks after being used for this long amount of time. See how it held up, and start reusing the thing. So yeah, the grow log is this video is gonna be a long one. So it documents on a weekly basis 20 weeks, and I show the roots and I show the plant, so it could be a pretty long video. But yeah, so without waiting any longer, I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna end this plant's life. Okay, I think that's good, and the grow log will start soon. Stay tuned into the videos. Bye bye, Basil. Oh.
Okay, I'm going to demonstrate now that you can also clone in these systems. So what I did was I took a cutting from the bottom of this basil plant and I moved it up here to another system, identical system, and all you have to do is take your cutting, place it into the net cup with the stem resting on the bottom, and fill it with Hydroton, and then raise your water level a little bit to where it's not resting at the bottom of the cup, but it comes up about a half an inch, just so about a quarter inch to a half an inch of the stem is in the water. And then all you have to do after that is put it in the system and wait till you got roots. Alright, now checking back in our little basil clone here. It is day 7 in the cloning process, and we have quite a bit of roots. The last time I checked in was day 4 and we had roots then, but there are enough roots now to transplant if you want. So that was just to show that you can clone as well as grow in these systems. And now if I pull it out, if I can here, maybe if we dump the Hydroton out, just kind of dump it right out in here. And if you look there is your rooted cutting. Pretty awesome. That is a thick, robust root growth. And you know, you can either leave it in the system like I'd said before, or you can remove it as I've done and transplant it into whatever you want. So yeah, and that's all there is to it. Day 7, and this is the roots. Plain pH'd water. And that's all there is to it.
Okay, it's day 45 and I had to do some selective pruning here to make room. All this stuff was growing up into the lights. And there's all the tops I trimmed off. You know, I'm not doing this any particular way. I just needed to make room, kind of doing it, kind of just hacking it off really. But yep, day 45 and still going good. Day 49 and I had to make more room again. Kind of hacked it off again. This is probably the third time I've had to do this, third or fourth. So, yep, making room, it keeps on growing.
Alright guys, so this is the micro DWC after use. You can see it's pretty dirty. This one never got cleaned at all during the 144 days of growth, so there's algae in here, and look at this roots, man. I mean, it's just a solid mass coming out of the net pot. It's seriously, it's like they're like wood roots, man. So I'm gonna clean this thing up. I'm gonna cut all the roots out of the net pot, see if the net pot's still usable, which it should be. It might be a little deformed a little bit, but I know the reservoir and everything should clean up real nice. But the only thing that might not be 100% is the net pot, so we'll clean this up and check it out. Alright, so I've got it all cleaned up and it's dried off and everything. Came out pretty good. You know, as far as the reservoir, there's no residue. There's not even any stains on the inside of the reservoir. There's some minor stains around the rim, you can see there, but as far as anything else, I mean, it's pretty dang clean. And that basil plant was grown for 144 days, and really the only thing that was, well, it's not really damaged, but it's misshapen, is the net cup, the 2-inch net pot. And these net pots, these are pretty good quality. They're a name brand. They're a Ponix Farm net cup. They have a wide rim, and they're not cheap at all. These things are sturdy. They're a heavy plastic, and as you can see, it's a little warped. It's got some bowing going on, but the roots from that basil were, you saw how they were. I mean, I had to literally cut them out, and they were hard. They were hard roots, and it was all growing out of there, and the Hydroton was pushing against it. So it's a little misshapen, but it's perfectly fine to use again, and you could probably get several more uses out of this. I don't know how far, but I will keep reusing it. But so yeah, that's it, man. It cleans up nice. It's ready to go again. Put your air stone and your air line back in, and put some water in there, and you're ready to roll. So so that's what the used one looks all like, cleaned up, and this is like a new system, how it comes, how they come, and yeah, so very reusable. The only thing you're gonna have to do is refill it with Hydroton, you know. So yeah, I'm actually not gonna put anything else in this tent right away. I think I'm gonna let this ghost pepper take over and see how many ghost peppers we can get off this thing. I don't know how long I'm gonna let this thing grow, but it's definitely got to give me some damn peppers. So so yeah, guys, thanks for checking out this video. You guys can swing by my website if you want. I have a website. I'm always on there. I'm dinking around on there quite a bit, trying to put new stuff and everything, and yeah, and it's at indoormicro.com, and you can check that out. Check out my other videos if you feel like it. Maybe subscribe, leave a comment, whatever you want to do. Whoa, damn, dude, he loves going in there. I'm actually in my dark cycle, but you know, it's not real important with peppers, but shit, oh well. So yeah, that's all I wanted to show. You know, it cleans up real nice, ready to use again, ready to roll. Alright, dudes, peace.
Thank you.